My name is Derringer Martinez. I'm the general manager here, and on behalf of our staff here at Imperial Memorial Gardens and T.G. McCarthy's, I want to begin by doing something my mom always told me I should do. Whenever somebody does something for you, is say thank you. So I know you're not here for me, but I want to say thank you for spending your morning here with us. I know that everyone is busy, and there are lots of ways for us to spend our 3-day weekend. We started out this morning with a 5K fun run that will benefit families being served by the Mariposa Center for Safety. Many of us came out here to remember loved ones, some who have served, some who have not. And there will be plenty of family barbecues this weekend, and probably even a chance to get some great deals on mattresses and appliances. There's nothing wrong with all of that. As a matter of fact, they are wonderful ways to enjoy our freedoms. But the main purpose of gathering here this morning is to remember that sometimes there is a great cost to maintain those freedoms. It is easy to remember during times of great conflict to express appreciation to those who stand up for our nation and its ideals. You know, during the war on global terror, regardless of political views, it became customary to say thank you for your service. Something that had probably not been said often enough to veterans of the Vietnam and Korean conflict and World War II. However, today I find myself very grateful for the wisdom of Memorial Day, born out of the Civil War, the costliest war in terms of American lives. And Memorial Day is celebrated every year. I think I'm going to ditch that. Memorial Day is celebrated every year, even in peacetime, to remember that we have a special debt to say thank you to those men and women that can no longer say you're welcome, because they've given everything, including their voice, defending our flag and the country it stands for. Would you please stand and join me in listening to Brandi Halverson. I will announce a correction. I know it says Brandi Davis. She's a Terrell Davis fan, but her name is Brandi Halverson. And we're going to listen to our national anthem rendered by Brandi Halverson. Thank you.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag
So as we gather today to remember, I do want to introduce a special guest, somebody who is instrumental in helping us remember fallen veterans, Eddie Bedlien.
Thank you. A lot of people know me as Santa Eddie. I'm the Santa for the Parade of Lights and at the Riverwalk. But I started honoring our veterans as a Patriot Guard. That was a group that was formed when there was a preacher out of Kansas that would go to fallen servicemen's service and protest gays in the military. Well, we felt that wasn't the place to do it, so we would stand between them and the family that was being honored. But as a Patriot Guard, you could only show up if you were asked. I said, that's not right. I said, every veteran deserves to have the honor bestowed upon them for their service. So I started showing up. If I see a veteran in the newspaper or on the obituaries online, I try to show up to their service and honor them with having flags flying and little statues there for them. It's an honor to be able to do that. A lot of times I'm not able to do all the services, as just the other day I had 4 services in one day. And it's kind of hard to make all 4 of them. I only made 3, but I didn't get to the 4th. I do this out of love for my fellow veterans. There's things they have to go through while they're in the military. Some terrible, some funny, but they deserve to be known and respected. So I try to do that in my own little way. Last year I put on nearly 5,000 miles on my old bus that died. So I'm using a trailer and my pickup now. And out of pocket, I spent nearly, don't listen to this dear, nearly $4,000 of my own money. I do get donations from different organizations. The TRIA, they've given me money. The American Legion Riders, the American Legion, the Elks. My church has given me donations. Sometimes the family will send me a donation, but it's not necessary. I do this because I love my veterans. Yeah, and it gets out of the house. But I couldn't do this without my wife. She supports me in this. I'm not sure if she's supporting me or trying to get me out of the house, but you know, she does support me, and I really appreciate it. Have a happy Veterans Day, or Memorial Day. Veterans Day's coming up. Thank you.
We wanted to be sure that as part of today's proceedings that we honored Eddie for the continuing work he does in showing appreciation for veterans and their services. And to give a little further context, I'm going to invite Pastor Jason Keshishian. I don't know if I've ever said his last name. Pastor
He's my
Jason.
boss. I guess that means I
Yeah.
haven't gotten in trouble.
I'm going to invite him to share a message with us.
Thank you, Darren. What's that supposed to look like? I don't know. Bring the laptop up and went into standby mode here.
Your mic will probably work. Your mic will probably work if you want to use it.
Oh, yeah. Well, like I said, or like Derringer said, I'm Pastor Jason. Last name's Keshishian. I'm the pastor of Crossroads Community Church here in Pueblo. And I also work here at Imperial part-time. I'm a retired veteran of 20 years of service in the Air Force. So when I was asked to give a talk about Memorial Day today, I couldn't say no. I mean, this is a day that's just so important to me. And when I thought about how I wanted to approach this, I decided I want to talk about heroes. And it got me to thinking, you know, this is just me, but I personally believe that each and every one of us has this inner want or this inner desire for heroes. Just think about it for a minute. And I want to take us back in time. It's the 1930s. America is still in the throes of the Depression. And that's when the superhero is created. We see the beginnings of Superman in 1938, Batman in 1939, Captain Marvel also in 1939. But why did this happen? Why was it that time that superheroes were created? Well, times were tough, the people were down, and at that time, in the late 30s, it didn't seem like there was any end in sight to the Great Depression. Well, what did the superhero give to the people of America? Hope. They gave the people hope. Think about all the superhero stories that you've read over the years. Against insurmountable odds, the superhero pulls through, doesn't he? He always makes it. See, the people that were living in those times, they needed that kind of hope in their lives. So here we are, 90 years later, and I think, honestly, we still have that need in our hearts. We're still always looking for that hope and for that assurance. That's why even today, superhero movies still outsell just about every other kind of movie in the movie theaters. You know, each and every one of us that's sitting here today, we've been incredibly blessed that we were born in the United States of America. We have freedoms here that people in other countries only dream about. Our founding fathers fought suppression, so they knew they needed to create a constitution that was directed towards the safety and the well-being of the people of this country. And as we all know, there's no way you can protect the incredible words of those documents if you don't have people that are willing to defend it. And sometimes that means with their lives. And that is what today is all about. Memorial Day is a day to honor the people that gave the ultimate sacrifice to protect our Constitution and to protect the people of this great nation. How many of you are familiar with Joe Martinez Boulevard in Pueblo West? Right? Okay. I found an article in the Pueblo Chieftain. It was from May of 2019, and it's called Not Just a Regular Joe. That was the name of the article. And I want to share a few lines from the article with you. So like I said, this is from the Chieftain. In Pueblo County, everybody knows a Joe Martinez. For every Puebloan that knows a Joe Martinez, there's a story about one of those Joes being the Joe Martinez. Sometimes one of those Joes himself will outright claim that he is the Joe Martinez. Every one of those tall tales, of course, refers to Joe Martinez Boulevard, one of the main thoroughfares through Pueblo West, which connects McCulloch Boulevard to Purcell Boulevard, and it's the site of the Pueblo West 4th of July parade. The actual Joe Martinez predates any mere street name. In fact, the Joe Martinez predates Pueblo West entirely. But now that I've teased you a little, let's learn about the Joe Martinez. The Joe Martinez is a person that exemplifies what it is to be a hero. I live out in Pueblo West, and I have to admit that I wondered who Joe Martinez was until I looked him up several years ago for a sermon that I was doing on Memorial Day Sunday. So I'd like to tell you the story of Joe Martinez, if you don't mind. So now this historical information that I'm going to give you today was taken from the National World War II Museum's website. I better take a drink. Joseph Martinez was born in Taos, New Mexico in 1920. The youngest of many children to Jose Manuel Martinez and Maria Romo. His parents moved the family to Ault, Colorado in 1927. After being drafted into the U.S. Army in August of 1942, Martinez shipped off to Camp Roberts, California for basic training. Upon completing his training, Martinez was assigned to Company K, 32nd Infantry, 32nd Infantry, 7th Infantry Division. Well, the 7th Infantry Division was part of the force that landed at Attu in the Aleutian Islands of Alaska. The Japanese invaded the Aleutians in June 1942. That was the first time American soil had been invaded by a foreign power since the War of 1812. Martinez, together with the men from Company K, landed at Holt's Bay on May 11th and began the long and bitter struggle to wrest the craggy ridges that encircled the bay from the Japanese. This fighting was up close and brutal, as the Japanese forces defending the narrow passes that were the only means of advance were manning foxholes with machine guns, and their riflemen had the advantage of possessing the higher ground. One of the crucial passes was called Fish Hook and was a key objective for the 32nd Regiment. An attempt on the pass was made on May 24th, but was repulsed when the attackers, that would be us, suffered heavy casualties. After recuperating from the beating, and with the assistance of massive artillery bombardments, Martinez and his comrades made another attempt on May 26th. After initially making quick progress up the ridge, due to losses the Japanese absorbed, the Americans countered stiffening resistance in the form of hot spots that blocked their advance. At a particularly lethal point, Martinez was pinned down with his men. Taking his BAR, Martinez charged, clearing out foxhole after foxhole. Picking up an M1 Garand once he ran out of his own ammunition. In the book, The Capture of Attu, as told by the men who fought it, Sergeant Earl Marks of K Company recounted that Martinez went on like a wild man with that. He was a tornado that day. Too much of one, I guess. This heroic action allowed the unit to make it through the pass and get to their objective. But Martinez was not done. The unrelenting, tireless BAR gunner replenished his ammo and climbed atop a small 15-foot cliff that overlooked another Japanese trench system and started pouring fire down on the Japanese that were in the trench. Exposed to enemy fire from below, Martinez was undeterred as he unloaded magazine after magazine into the Japanese. Then one sole shot rang out and struck Martinez in the head. Though his men attempted to recover him, they realized that the treacherous journey back down the pass would kill him, while the unit was still under fire from Japanese bullets and from grenades. Martinez succumbed to his head wound and died on May 26, 1943. The next morning, the men of K Company found that the Japanese who had not been killed had pulled out, giving the Americans the day. Martinez was buried with full military honors in his childhood home of Ault, Colorado. The military posthumously honored Martinez by naming a transport ship and a military installation after him. Several municipalities erected statues and renamed streets in his honor as well. What a story. What a story. One man's bravery, one man's determination to help his fellow brothers in arms, one hero's actions saved many, many American lives that day. In doing my research on Private Joe Martinez, I learned that he was the one who took the initiative to climb the hill and attack. See, he and his brothers in arms were getting shot to pieces. So Joe Martinez took it upon himself to take action. And he started the uphill attack against the Japanese. His deeds need to be remembered. He is someone that I would call a hero. He sacrificed his life to save many others. Well, you know, the story doesn't end here. I'd like to go back to the Chieftain article for a moment, and here's what it says. In braving the enemy fire and reviving the American attack, Martinez's heroism was recognized almost immediately. The officers who followed him up the mountainside recommended him for the Congressional Medal of Honor on the very next day, May 27th. And here's something that I think is just so unique and so special about Joe Martinez. And this is still from the Chieftain. In receiving the Medal of Honor, he was the first recipient from Colorado, and he was the first Hispanic American to receive the Medal of Honor. Because of that status, Martinez's name is brandished across monuments, statues, and veterans halls all across Colorado. But perhaps nothing in Colorado bearing his name is more prominent, of course we're reading from the Chieftain, right, than being the namesake of one of Pueblo West's busiest roads. As I mentioned earlier, I really do think inside of us is a feeling or a want to have heroes in our lives or in our memories or in our thoughts. Why? Well, I'm going to say it again. They give us hope. You might not think about this, but we have heroes around us every single day. Police officers that put their lives in danger to keep us safe. Firefighters who run into burning buildings to save a child or to rescue a pet. Or how about that random person on the street or in a school that defends someone who's being attacked or being bullied by bad people? And then, of course, we have our military standing on guard to keep us free each and every day. Unfortunately, there are times when these heroes give up the ultimate sacrifice, their life. That's why we have today. That's why we have Memorial Day. To remember the sacrifices that other people have given so that we can be sitting here today. Today is their day. Let's give them the honor they deserve. Thank you. And I don't know how many of you got these. I don't know where they're at, but yeah, we've got a whole stack of them. There's some right there, and it actually has Private Joe Martinez's military or a Medal of Honor citation inside of it. So I'm going to turn it over to Derringer.
Thank you, Jason.
You're welcome.
Well, these are not my words, and you've probably heard them said before, but you know, everyone in the military has a job. And it doesn't matter if you're a general or a cook, soldier or sailor. The other thing everybody has in common is they essentially write a blank check. And on the amount, it says up to and including my life. So that's what we're here to commemorate today. A debt that we can't repay. I will share with you, I have family members in the military that have returned safely after serving our country. So every Veterans Day I call them and, you know, thank them, and they say something like, do something fun. That's why I did this. So I think it's perfectly fine on Memorial Day that we have a fun run to support an organization that really helps people, that we have barbecues as families, that we visit our loved ones' graves, whether or not they served in the military. And I think it's even great that we get some great deals on appliances and mattresses. We're celebrating our freedom. But there are two things we should do. At 3 o'clock, we should observe a moment of silence so that we don't forget the price of freedom. And I will invite anyone that would like to join us right now at 10 o'clock in our chapel if you would like to join us in praying for the souls of those that have passed on before us. Father from Holy Family will be celebrating a Mass for us.
It was bugging me, sorry.
That's all right. And I wanted to thank Eddie for being here because he is instrumental in helping us to remember those that have put their life in our service, put their country in. Thank you very much for joining our ceremony. If anyone would like to join us for the Mass, it'll be directly in the chapel, beginning right at 10 o'clock. Thank you.
Yeah.